today in Rich in Relationship. We're going to talk about how you can't fix it if you don't feel it. And I'm talking about your marriage here. Stay tuned for more. Just to be clear, 76% of all divorces are initiated by women, and the reason is that women who are unhappy in a marriage are trying to get men to wake the frick up. Do you want to teach your children that when your partner is unhappy, you just frickin' bolt and go find someone who will please you more? Or do you want to teach your children that when the going gets tough, the tough really do get going? Welcome to another episode of Rich in Relationship. I'm your host, Rich Heller, and today we're talking about becoming the anchor. I like to say becoming the bedrock, but the name of the episode is Becoming the Anchor, Leading Yourself. You want to lead in your marriage? You got to lead yourself. You can't help everyone. You got to take care of yourself here. I was uploading videos up on YouTube, and I came across this celebrity who I admire. I've read his books. During the pandemic, reading his books were really important to me, actually. I read his book. Guy's name is David Goggins. And, David Goggins was on this amazing journey of the mind over body, mind over body, mind over body. And then in the end of the book, he starts to talk about how, wow, his body was breaking down. He needed to change his whole game. Apparently, he got into stretching. So anyway, I'm watching David Goggins' clip, and the guy is asking David Goggins for divorce advice. He says, my wife is leaving me. What advice do you have? And David gets out there and he says, let me be real. You need to leave that beep. You're at home worrying about it. And I thought, that is a very old school, I'm the man in charge answer to that question. And that's what we're really here to talk about today. And I'm going to tell you, there are times when we need to be that man. But I'm also going to tell you, from working with countless men who have come to me in this position, Rich, my wife is threatening divorce. Rich, my wife has served me with divorce papers. What do I do? Those men have not only won their wives back, but they've done it without licking her boots, right? This whole series is about how we can be soft and hard. We don't have to be hard all the time. And this episode right here is all about that. And if you're one of those men whose wives is threatening divorce, just to be clear, 76% of all divorces are initiated by women. And the reason is that women who are unhappy in a marriage are trying to get men to wake the frick up. And they do it by going, honey, I'm not happy about something. And when that doesn't work, they go, hey, I'm really upset. And when that doesn't work, eventually they get to, you know what? If you don't address this, I'm going to divorce you. And then once they said that, well, eventually they got to serve him with papers. But even when they serve him with papers, there's an opening. And what David Goggins wasn't addressing in that video is there are other players here on the field. Yeah, if it's just you and her, that's one thing. But if you have children together, it's a whole nother ball game. If you have children together, you can leave her. I'm saving you some expletives here. And she can leave you. But you're still joined at the hip by those kids. And so the trick is to figure out a way to resolve the relationship challenge in the way where you are most true to yourself. Because what is the example that you want to teach your children? Do you want to teach your children that when your partner is unhappy, you just frickin' bolt and go find someone who will please you more? Or do you want to teach your children that when the going gets tough, the tough really do get going? They get going not by being tough. They get going by looking to see what they need to make right in themselves. And here's the truth. When we are right in ourselves, fellas, we will know whether it's time to leave or whether it's time to stay. When we are right in ourselves, and what I mean by right in ourselves is in touch with all of who we are, building on the last episode, all of our feelings, when we experience the hurt of, what, you want to divorce me? When we experience the sadness of, oh my God, I can't believe that you're doing this to me. When we experience the fear of what's going to happen to my family, or even a more petty thought, what will my boss think when my family crumbles? Or what's my church going to do? I'm a deacon. When we get through all of because fear takes us to some really upside down places, let's be honest. Once we've had all those feelings and we get to the other side of, all right, She must really be feeling some hurt, sadness, and fear herself to be laying the D word down. How do I work with that? How do I work with these feelings to connect with her feelings? When we do that, we are on the road to success. And even if we connect with her and we still end up getting divorced, the divorce is going to be less expensive, faster, and less emotionally costly to our children and to each other. And that's why it is vital, men, that we get out of the man box that we've been talking about for a couple of episodes now. The man box is the lone wolf, the high plains drifter, the tough guy, that we get out of the man box when it comes to our wife without being wussified, that we get out of the man box and allow ourselves to be full range human beings and reconnect. And that's what this episode's about, fellas. So let's talk about that man box. The man box is what we learn a man should be. It's our father's expectation, our mother's expectation, what we see in the movies. I'm thinking about, oddly, I'm thinking about more recent sort of fight movies. It seems like all the guys who we see in fight movies, whether the character be Neo in The Matrix, which isn't even a fight movie, or whether it be Reacher, whether you're talking about the show or you're talking about the movies, all of these guys, they pretty much travel alone. Neo at least finds a girlfriend, but his girlfriend is a badass ass kicker like he is. There's no intimacy there, really. Reacher connects with women, again, women who are badasses. All of these guys represent the man box. This is like modern stuff. I grew up with old school stuff. It's not that different. The culture still presents the man. A man is this way. The men that we look up to are this way. And we as men, we realize that we're not Reacher. We realize that we're not Neo or any of the characters in between those two extremes that we see. But the message that we get is we need to be strong. The message that we get is we need to be tough. The message that we get is never quit. The message that we get is never show a vulnerable face. The message that we get is be very careful who you trust. The message that we get is when we trust, always be prepared to be betrayed. We get no messages about partnership from those images. And guys love that stuff. There are chick flicks, and then there's that. And the way it's interpreted by some of us go to the gym and work out. Maybe we take martial arts, or, we have a more violent side of that. Or some of us, we realize that our wives really don't like that. I've worked with a ton of guys who they're just doing their best to please their wife. And then they go out with the guys and they watch the Wick movies or Reacher or whatever, or they watch football, or they do drugs, or they go to topless bars. They have like a tough guy alter ego away from their wives. So at home, it's happy wife, happy life. Oh, yes, 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 whatever. And what both of these guys don't understand, and then there's everything in between, what both of these guys don't understand is why won't their wives let them in physically and emotionally? So the question is, how do we unbox? How do we get unboxed from this cultural ambush that we're all going through? Unboxing is about understanding how to harness our masculine traits, right? We have, as brains that float in a testosterone-driven body that's genetically male, whether you feel like you're a man or feel like you're a woman, you have those qualities. And as a result, we're linear. As a result, we're goal-oriented. That's not all of who we are, all right? We also have a relational side that's been neglected because the images that we've gotten from culture and from our parents and from schools and from everything around us is that we don't need to tend to that relational side. We need to be strong. We need to be focused. We need to be goal-oriented. We need to be going for it. We need to, when we fall off the horse, get back on it. It's a different interpretation of when the going gets tough, the tough get going. The emphasis is on the tough, not the going. So the beginning is to get that before we were men, we were human. And to also embrace the masculine qualities, the linear quality. This is brain science I'm talking about here. Our brains are wired in such a way that guys tend to be more goal-oriented and more linear, though we do have this other side. As such, there are things that we cannot compromise on. And this is a human quality, not just a man quality. There are principles and values that as human beings under normal conditions, not survival conditions, we will not compromise on. In order to survive, we'll give up a lot of values in order to get back to living. Right? Survival threat for us today is minimal. Living is a lot more. When any human being compromises their values or principles, which many of us do unconsciously without thinking about it, it's like cutting off a limb. We feel disempowered. We feel less than. We become more sheep-like and less lion-like. The way men stand on principles is they stand on that principle to the exclusion of all else. We need to embrace this as part of our being. Now, the problem is, in the past, when we've embraced this as part of our being, where we go with it is, this is my principle. You freaking get in line. And if you can't get in line, it's kind of the David Goggins thing. You want to serve me with a divorce? Get out of here. I'll just find me a new skirt. Well, that's the energy and the emotion that got us the divorce papers in the first place. Where we want to be with this is standing on our principles in a, hey, honey, I know you're really unhappy with me, but this thing, on this bedrock, I stand. If you need to leave me, I understand. I love you and I care for you. There's many things I can give in on, but this isn't one of them. Could we talk about this some more? To get to that place requires self-awareness. To get to that place, we need to lead in ourselves. Leading in ourselves means becoming aware first of our values and principles. Leading in ourselves means becoming aware of all of our emotions and allowing them to show up in a masculine way, not in a wussy way. What do I mean by that? Let's talk about that. Wussy, whether you're a man or a woman, would be where you allow your sense of loss and victimization to overwhelm you so much that you have no choice but to continue to experience victimization, even when opportunity shows up. It means that you're a pushover, that you're not willing to stand for anything. You're so used to feeling victimization that even when your bedrock is being taken from you, you allow it to be taken. That would be wussy. That's a lot different than, well, let me share something personal with you. I have a son who has alienated himself from his family, all of us. Incredibly painful. I couldn't talk about that today if I hadn't allowed myself to weep when it was appropriate. Sometimes I weep in church during worship or prayer. Sometimes I weep on my own. You know what I don't do? I don't go out to a store and weep and let someone take the wallet out of my pocket. I don't do that. I'm having those feelings in appropriate places. And then when I'm done having those feelings, or when I feel as complete as possible in that moment, it's not like they ever go away altogether. I close it off and move on. And because, as a man, I'm allowing myself to have feelings of hurt that he would reject me and the whole family, of sadness that he's not in my life, his wife, and my 1-year-old granddaughter. Incredibly painful. Because I have sadness over that at appropriate moments. Because I have fear sometimes that my other children may think he's doing the right thing, though there's no evidence of that. I love my other children. They love me. I'm in their lives. They're in mine. But sometimes I get irrationally fearful when I let myself have that fear and even express it to them. I say to them, hey, it's completely irrational. But, when you say that, sometimes I get scared that it's going to be like him. And they go, oh, Dad, I'm so sorry. Right? When it's expressed appropriately, it's strength. It's strength. All right. So how do I get out of the box? Nobody gets out of the box alone, fellas. And this is not a pitch. All right. This is a fact. We're hardwired for connection. And the instructions are on the outside of the box. We get out of the box with the help of our friends. We get out of the box with the help of our partners. Last episode, I told you about Brad and Gwen. Brad had a child that he had fathered at an early age and was feeling grief about it. And by turning to Gwen and Gwen giving him permission to be vulnerable and look weak, they actually grew closer. Your partner is a resource. Who else can help you? Yeah, professionals can help you. Who else can help you? Rabbis can help you. Who else can help you? Coaches can help you. Therapists can help you. Who else can help you? Other men who have been through it can help you. But it's in order to let go of shame, in order to let go of grief, in order to let go of sadness, in order to let go of hurt, in order to let go of fear, it needs to be shared appropriately, not in the store when somebody's trying to pick your wallet, right? That would be wussification, we'll call it. Wussification is a terrible judgment. It would be a bad judgment call to be having that feeling there. And the truth is, if you don't have those feelings at times when it's safe, like with your partner, or maybe in your place of worship, or with a therapist, or maybe when you're alone walking through the woods or wherever you are, if you don't allow yourself to have those feelings and get in touch with them and take ownership of all of who you are, number one, they're going to start leaking out in other places. You will find yourself in a situation where somebody's picking your pocket and you'll just go, oh, what do I do? You, even worse, will find yourself less and less able to connect with your partner because our hearts connect to other people through our vulnerability, through our that victim stuff that none of us wants to know about. We connect to other people through hurt, pain, suffering, sometimes through joy. We experience joy with other people, but we can't get to joy without those other feelings. I feel like there's a call to action here, and I don't know what it is. So the call to action, my men, is first, you need to make a decision. My call to action is to make a decision to be a whole and complete human being first, and to express your humanity as a man in ways that are culturally appropriate and make it safe for your partner. Because if you're going to be a leader, she's not going to let you lead until it's safe. And if you're expressing your feelings in ways that are unsafe, it's not going to happen. If you've got bubbling anger and you live in blame and you live in sarcasm and cutting remarks, she will experience the death by 1,000 cuts. She will be leaving you, and you may have a response of, go ahead, walk, biatch, instead of thinking about your kids and your future and the vision that you and your partner created together. Do not throw away the future just because you've been missing the ball with your partner. Anytime your partner is that upset, it is an opportunity to reconnect. And from that place of personal mastery, from that place of full emotional humanity, emotional fluency, let's call it. The more emotionally fluent we become as human beings, the cleaner and simpler endings are, and the cleaner and simpler beginnings are. And I want you to get that when your wife serves you with divorce papers, there's an ending there. You're either ending the marriage and engaging in a new one together, or you're ending the marriage and maybe engaging in a new one with someone else. But it is an ending. The question is, how clean is it going to be? An ending that's made with a jagged piece of glass and a wound that it never heals? Or is it going to be surgical and clean? There's so much more to this, but we are way over, and I'm clearly a little overly passionate about it. So subscribe, like, share, have a wonderful day and an awesome tomorrow, and stay tuned because there's so much more coming on Rich in Relationship.